Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode in the Halo Wars 2 guide tutorial series. I'm going to go through each individual leader in Halo Wars 2, give you a little bit of an overall impressions on some of the strengths of each leader. If you're interested in other leaders, there is a playlist that you should definitely check out. In this episode, we're going to go through Voridus, who is arguably the best leader in Halo Wars 2. Probably one of my favorites, one of the most unique leaders. He is just simply fantastic, and he's banned in a lot of tournaments as well because he's so good. Let's go ahead and start off with a simple build order of Voridus. The point of this build order is we want to go ahead and get a pretty strong offensive opener going here. And here's why. You open the leader wheel. You have two options, the Infused Mine and Combat Spoils. Both of these powers are actually pretty great. The Infused Mine is simply incredible when it is used correctly. But most of the time, you're going to want to go Combat Spoils. What Combat Spoils is that you get resources from damaging enemy buildings. That may not seem like anything all that extraordinary, but it really is. Now, the way that you kind of capitalize on this is you want to aim for someone's generator, because with combat spoils, if you attack someone's upgraded generator, it has to be upgraded, you get power. And if you attack anything else, the harvesters, an unupgraded generator, turrets, the base building itself, a mini base, whatever, you're only going to get supplies. I mean, both of which are great, but the power is really what we're after, so we can kind of get a head start. Now, there's two different ways you can do this sort of really strong opener as Voridus. The first is to do upgrade your grunts to shrapnel mines, make a lot of grunts, send them over to your opponent's base, and do the Y ability. That's actually not what I'm after in this particular opener. I'm actually in the mindset of I like to make a lot of choppers. Choppers fire pretty frequently, and that should in turn have a great impact on how many resources you're going to be able to intake. Now, you should remember that choppers don't have a great DPS. They actually have quite a terrible damage per second. So if you're doing these choppers for the sole purpose of, say, taking out someone's gen to cripple them that way, this may not be the best option. You probably want to go for the grunts and get the shrapnel mines upgrade. But for me, I'm more interested in making a fair amount of money, so I'm going to go the chopper route. And the decision is, of course, up to you. You can do other things, too. When you're Voridus, you should select your grunts. And, you know what? I'm obviously not doing this for this tutorial, but, you want to be getting your power, your supplies. You want to take the node. And then what I usually do is, like, hold position my grunts on different mini bases on the map, because if your opponent has taken those mini bases, you of course will get a little bit of resources from that. And if you do the whole position of your grunts on those mini bases when you attack with the choppers, your opponent may not be noticing that you're attacking that mini, which will just further increase the resources that you're going to be receiving here. Now, once we're in our second point, you really, I would arguably say, you cannot go wrong with anything on Voridus' wheel. For the majority of the game. I mean, everything on his wheel is, I would say, great. That gentleman ran me. We're going to actually attack here in just a second. You can go the Infusion Wake, which is kind of like a vortex in such a sense, but it leaves the goo, which does a lot of damage. That's really important if you're planning on prolonging the game. You can tack that on with the Invigorating Frenzy, which heals you, or the Cataclysm, which pretty much lights the goo into some massive explosion. I prefer sometimes to get the Grenadier drop, because that's great against infantry, and then they explode and leave infusion goo on the ground. So we're going to keep in mind that this isn't the perfect use case when you're in an online match, but I'm already going to go ahead and research Tech 2. There's an upgraded gen right here, and you can see all of my choppers, if they listen to me, going to be getting power. And this this rush might be actually kind of wasted. The choppers are really weak. He's got 2 turrets up. Sometimes what you can do is just start pivoting and see where you want to go. I can take my grunts and let's hold position over here. I would say it's unusual for someone to have 2 turrets at this hour, but this is the AI we're playing, of course. I would encourage you to not get the shrapnel rounds upgrade, and then while you're doing your attack and bothering the gentleman, see, these choppers are going to die instantly if I continue this, which I guess I will for the sake of this. We'll get the grenadier drop. We'll drop it here. Just get a little bit of extra power, and your power income is really going to skyrocket. Take this to your advantage, because your opponent may be on the defense. Just make sure you don't lose in such a way that you can't really sustain a counterattack if your opponent defeats your troops. So while that we have the time, didn't I tell the grunts to take that node and they didn't listen to me? That's nothing to do with Halo Wars. I might actually get this gen here, which would be pretty great. Now, when this foundry's done, I'm going to be making nothing but marauders. One of the key reasons is we want to be really strong with getting wraiths. And building anything that costs some power is going to prolong us from changing into wraiths. So that attack ultimately failed. And this AI has not taken any minis yet, so I can't really capitalize on bothering other minis. And we'll take the Expo, and we're getting pretty close to the next point. Both our gens are upgraded. I'm going to leave the Harvesters alone and just continue to pump out Marauders. You could, if you wanted, sack one of these, build another Foundry, and make some more Marauders. There's also another array you could go. You could go air with Banshees. And I'm kind of scatterbrained at the moment. I do apologize. If I have mentioned you want to avoid, if you're going to go the chopper route as an opener, avoid getting the shrapnel rounds upgrade. Reason being is it's 450 power. That's almost half the cost of Tech 2, by the way. And it does say it adds explosive rounds and it adds detect, but quite honestly, you're not going to really get a major return on your investment, even if you are going to be constantly attacking generators on your opponent's side of the map. So I really do think the best option is to stay away from that upgrade. It's usually a pretty clear sign that you, if you see your opponent doing that, they're going to be stuck in their tech level for quite a while. You can also build an Apex and start making some infused engineers to kind of support your army. But the name of the game is to kind of do some constant bothering of your opponent to capitalize on combat spoils. So consider it almost like cash back at your opponent's expense. I'm getting all this money here from this. You're not going to get a whole lot of income from the Marauders because it's based on the fire rate. So you could also add a couple of choppers for the fire rate to give you some more cash, but the choice is really up to you. We're also getting into really the part of the game where you can almost go any direction you want, and for most leaders in Halo Wars 2, I would say that's not really the case. There's usually a specific subset of powers that you should get to capitalize on your leader, but Voridus is so good, you can kind of go any route you want. So let's take a look at our leader wheel. We could get Infusion Wake to start damaging enemy units and slowing them down. You don't want to get the Invigorating Frenzy unless you have some infused engineers. That's their Y ability, is to spew some infusion on the ground, or you have something like the Grenadier drop to actually use this ability. You could also get Infusion Tech. This increases the damage of your infusion pools. If you get, by the way, if you get Infusion Tech 2, that lets your Wraith Y ability, which is an upgrade in the Foundry here, the Scorch Mortar, and the shells from your Blisterback create infusion goo. I gotta say, if you want to have some of the most powerful siege in all of Halo Wars 2, Infusion Tech 2 Blisterbacks are incredible. Ultimately, if you're playing with friends and you want to have some just insane leader power combinations, you want to go for the Maelstrom. You can do like a Maelstrom, your ally does a beam, or Maelstrom and an eradication, Maelstrom and cryoseismic. I mean, the list goes on what you can do here. And then, of course, if you're wanting to do some real damage, you can get Cataclysm. I think for this case, I'm going to get Infusion Wake. Just makes a lot of sense. But honestly, you can't go wrong on anything on Voridus' leader wheel, in my opinion. I'm going to make a couple of Shrouds and NGs. And, oh, I just got another leader wheel. Now, as far as I know, the Infusion Goo does not damage bases. However, you can drop the Infusion Goo on a base and do Cataclysm, and that will cause some serious damage. So, I think I'm actually going to go Infusion Wake 2 in this case. Now I'm available to get Cataclysm next point and really blow away this this gentleman's base. I'll go ahead and research the Scorch Mortar. I'm at my pop limit. Of course, in this example, I didn't make my hero. I'll probably say it's a pretty good idea to make the Voridus hero. He's very similar to the behavior of the Warlord from Decimus. However, the Y ability just spreads a bunch of goo, and when he's fully upgraded, he becomes invisible in the goo as well. So keep that in mind. If your opponent has no detect, you can make your hero invisible. I do think as the game progresses, the Voridus hero kind of levels out and doesn't become as strong as he once was. I think that's okay because his leader wheel really makes up for it in other areas. Oh, let's does he have Detect? He doesn't have Detect. I'll just poke my whole army here. Some Scorch Mortars on his base. These turrets are really doing some damage, as it were. Is he actually going to stop me here? I only have like 1 or 2 wraiths left. But Voridus is absolutely disgusting. The combat spoils, I cannot understate how good it is. It's just simply an incredible leader power. If you're wondering if it's worth to go, say, combat spoils 2, I don't think it is. I mean, of course, the upgrade is that you get a higher amount of resources when you do your attacks. But I've never... Oh, you got a shield up, too. I wasn't paying attention. All right, let's have to back up here against the AI. Isn't that embarrassing? Let's go take out his mini. I'm sure in some situations, Combat Spoils 2 is worth. I just think that his leader wheel is so good that you should just continue getting something else. Also, oh, he's Voridus as well. Okay, I kind of didn't notice that until just now. Voridus has, in my opinion, the best Scarab in all of Halo Wars 2. That is the Infused Scarab. It's a different moving Scarab, but the main beam that it fires has the Infusion Goo. So it kind of does some extra damage, and that allows you to use a wide array of powers. Cataclysm, the Invigorating Frenzy, Infusion Tech, kind of tack that on with other powers. The list kind of goes on how effective this is. I gotta give a shout out, by the way, to my opponent here, this AI gentleman, for really hanging in there. Well, might be game over here. I might be reaching my final form here in just a second. Let's go ahead and go over here. And I will... Wow, look at his base. That's kind of embarrassing on my part, huh? This. And there goes the base. And looks like he got combat spoils as well. And remember, while you have Cataclysm activated, that is any Infusion Goo that you drop while that's active is going to have that effect. So you should be dropping your Grenadier drop, you activating your Infusion Wake, even put that on top of your Invigorating Frenzy. Voridus' strength lies in the goo and combat spoils, so as long as you can keep the gas on targeting your opponent, remember, you don't have to necessarily win every engagement against an opponent's base. Where you get your advantage from are all of the resources. Anytime you go on offense, you're going to be making some money, and that can really snowball into having a really scary army composition really early on in the game. And that's why Voridus is so good. I don't think it said I destroyed all of his bases, so let's go find out where he's hiding. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up or something, because that will trigger the pro players who hate everything I do, and nothing makes my day more than making them upset, so be sure to check that out. Again, there's a playlist with a wide array of leaders. At the time of recording this, it does have a full base here. At the time of recording this, I have not finished all 16 leaders, but that is my goal. And I have some other videos too, like best tips for beginners, how to counter air spam, the benefits, and how to super turtle, and all of the rest, initial building, order guide, so on and so forth. And if you need some additional help, maybe these tutorials aren't necessarily answering your questions, feel free to join our Discord server. We have like almost 5,000 people on our Discord server or something, and we have some high-level players that are always interested in teaching newcomers. So you can join our Discord server, and we can have someone help you individually as well. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you, James.